Thank you so much for being with us on a Tuesday night from the First Amendment Sports Podcast Studios. I'm Ken Marangolo. He's Kevin Ricca.
And I'm lucky to be here. And we're lucky to be playing football at all right now. So
Yes,
let's talk
yes,
about
sir.
what's happening. And we're also lucky to be with this guy over there in the left-hand corner.
He's Tim Strachan.
Hey man, it's a little bit of a good, bad, and the ugly this week. It was good, it was bad. There was even a little bit ugly, but once again, there were parts of it that just didn't seem like a loss of years past. Call me crazy, but even with this loss, and we knew, like Denny Green said, we knew what they were going to be, both the Ravens and the Washington football team. There was no big surprises, but it just, again, it feels a little bit different. And I know that we're going to get into it.
We are here tonight to talk about DC sports in general. And in general, there is only one team playing. That is the Washington football team. And to Kevin's point, it's just awesome to be watching football. Of all, my kind of observation about sports right now, we wish we were covering high school sports like we did last year. Well, we wish we were back on those sidelines, on those court side of those games, and we're not. And everything just seems kind of unreal. That is not real. And maybe that would be different if the Caps were playing for the Stanley Cup or the Nats were playing for a World Series, maybe. But the football is real. The NFL is real. It's happening. It is awesome. And I even like so. I know I'm interested to hear you guys' take. The piped in crowd noise. I think it's necessary. Because I think playing in silence would suck. Listening to it in silence would suck. But I like for the first time I was watching the games last night and how they would zoom in on an empty stadium. It just makes me more appreciative of the fact that we have it to watch. I mean, the fact that these stadiums aren't full of rabid, crazy football fans is weird, and it's gonna leave a mark, and we'll never forget it for the rest of our lives. But the action on the field is as real as it gets. It's a real season. It's it's the to your point, T, the good, the bad, and the ugly. There's great teams. There's good teams. There's terrible teams. But Sunday is Sunday. In the same kind of way it was last year. And I've really kind of embraced that part of sports. Like that. When we first kicked off the season, I didn't take it for granted that we were back to something that was normal, that hasn't been normal at all. And it's as other parts of society open up, as kids go back to school, as offices reopen, and things are just different and weird, and you're kind of your daily life is our daily lives are not the same right now, and they won't be the same for a while. But Sunday football, it's the same. It feels the same.
I agree. And this is one thing we brought up earlier. We were all curious to see how it would play out on our screens at home. And I think, there's not much difference unless you see that stand behind you. There's no one in them. It doesn't have that feel that baseball or hockey or the NBA does. It looks like normal Sunday football to me. And you know what? I'm so happy, and people are going to think I'm nuts, and we'll get to it, but I'm so happy we get to watch a guy like Dwayne Haskins actually get to go through and make the mistakes and grow up in his second stage of quarterbacking that we get. Because if we weren't playing, what would we do? How would we have to make that choice heading into next year and the years afterwards? And I think we're getting a steady dose of content involving Dwayne for everyone to have different opinions about. But for the fact of the matter is, for the Washington football team to move forward, we need this input. We're getting this input. Whether it's good, bad, or ugly does not matter. By the end of this season, it will, and we'll have it all computed. I really appreciate that.
And not, I know there's folks on the board who have other team. AGH is talking about DC United. Appreciate that. I know Greg, his Yankees are doing just fine. And good evening, James. Good evening, Eric. Good evening, Robert. We appreciate all you guys hanging out with us tonight.
How do we assemble such an all-star crew? How do we do this? Did you do this?
I didn't do it.
I don't know. I'm just glad that they do this.
We couldn't do it without them. I wouldn't want to do it without these guys. So I want to make sure that they have a voice on here. And I think that it's listen, the Washington team isn't great. And that's probably really understating things at this point in time. At one point on Sunday, we were the best team in the NFC East until the very, very, very end of the day. We were the best one-win team in the NFC East. I'd argue we're still the best one-win team in the NFC East, since the team that's technically in first by winning percentage points is the team we
wrapped those Eagles on the beak week one. They took a Rivera right off the nose.
But it's hard to argue with people who want to look down at the NFC East when you look at those standings. I mean, it's just kind of miserable to think about what's happening in our division.
I've had so many discussions lately with people about how the NFC East used to be the cream of the crop. It was what all sports teams, wish they could be in terms of the conference. It was the best conference of any sport at one point. It is the absolute biggest punchline of the NFL right now. I mean, Sports Center dedicated an entire segment to just how bad the NFC East is. But that's another part of why Sundays are fun right now, because despite the fact that the Washington football team is not very good, they're still in it right now, mathematically. And as long as they're mathematically in it, every Sunday counts, man. And it makes it exciting, even though sometimes it makes it a little bit frustrating. And
we are still in it.
Gives you a little bit of heartburn.
We're in a lot of things. With one win, we're in the race for first place in our division, and we're in the race for worst team in the NFL. It's like a ridiculous time to be a Washington football fan.
Well, while we're polishing turds over here, the schedule really lets up moving forward into the month of October. I'm just saying.
It does.
Get your bleach. Get your arm pads, get your knee pads, because we're going to have to get down dirty.
We have 3 NFC East games in the next 4 weeks, 2 against the New York Giants. And I don't know how they're going to beat us, but they somehow find a way year in and year out to do so. Let's kick things off this way. I thought that instead of X's and O'sing it, on this team, I thought we would do a little Dwayne Haskins talk and then do a little – give me something good, give me something bad from like 100,000 foot levels. Folks on the board, if you guys are thinking about things in those terms, I'm happy to get your optimistic thoughts. I'm happy to get your naysayer thoughts. Those are welcome. But the idea that Dwayne Haskins needs to be benched, to me, continues to be a complete – I think it's a bad idea. I don't think it's something worth even really giving a lot of airtime to. And actually, I feel like most of the people on the board that we've been talking about this with, and I think we probably all agree, and maybe we just settle it now and go forward and say, unless he's hurt, he needs to play 16 games this season. Unless he's hurt, Dwayne Haskins should be the starting quarterback for this team for all 16 games. He'll either get you to a place where you can see a future with Dwayne Haskins as our starting quarterback for 10 years, or if you want to go the negative route, he'll get you to a place where you can bring somebody in with a high draft pick to start all over again with. I'm not rooting for that because I don't want to be in for that kind of a season. But I just feel like at the end of the day, we knew what the season was going to be about. We're 4 weeks in to exactly that. T, kick things off with a little Dwayne Haskins analysis. Kick things off with just a little bit of your thoughts on what we've seen from him through the first quarter of the season.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you right off the bat that he should start all 16 games guaranteed, no holds barred. And I don't think Ron Rivera said that. If they're 4-6 and it really – Dwayne hasn't gotten any better in terms of just doing the same mistakes at that point in time. And you may have to look to Allen to say, all right, does he give us a better chance to win? Because there's still a chance that we can win this division. I think that's still a reality. That being said, Dwayne had his good, bad, and ugly this week too. Look, he had some throws that were great. The fade to Terry Florin, a couple of over the middle routes when you really needed it. Those are throws that not many people can make in anywhere. So he has that ability, and he showed that. The bad was he still didn't find any rhythm. He didn't really move the team consistently. That word I'm going to come back to here in a minute. It just wasn't always there. But the ugly was the other part that was good. He didn't make some of the same mistakes he made last week in terms of staring down receivers, throwing interceptions. His completion percentage was up. His yards were way up. A lot of that due to screens. Let's be honest. Okay,
Good.
He wasn't throwing the ball down the field all day.
Good.
But he protected the ball. He had a better completion percentage, but he wasn't staring down receivers and stuff like that. The ugly, in my estimation, is this, and this is going to be the word that is haunting him from now until the end of his career, is consistency. He has tools, he has ability, but right now he hasn't shown consistency. One thing you cannot do at this level is, if you have an open receiver, is to not throw the ball at least accurately enough for your guy to get it. There was plenty of balls that he threw this past Sunday that should not have been off target. And that's something that's just got to get corrected. And that's got to be corrected quicker than anything else. We know he can take coaching and not stare down a guy and go from one week to another to learn how not to do that. That's great. But that consistency and that accuracy, that's got to be there. It's got to be there if you want to play in this league.
Kev?
So I look at it like this, and we talked about this earlier. There's the larva stage, which we've gone through. I believe we're now in the pupa stage. I really want to.
Say pube or pupa?
Well, I said pupa, but some people around here haven't matured over the pandemic, and you know what? I'm one of them. So, but I did say that, see, because I believe, first of all, with what I'm about to say, it's obvious. He has to get better for all of this to work, for the plan of the Rivera 3-year plan to have this guy, which I promise you guys, if we're going to get better, the salary cap that we thought was going to take a big, huge increase is not doing that. We all understand what's happened with the NFL football. They've decided that next season there'll be a $175 million floor. They're guessing it'll be about $186 million, coming down from 1 to 98.2. We're top 5 with salary cap money, and with Kerrigan's contract up, Alex Smith's contract up, and who knows about Brennan Sheriff. So right there is an additional $50 million.
Let's put a pin in that one. Let's put a pin in the Brennan Sheriff.
Put a pin in that, sure. But that's about $50 million, and I tell you one thing. We all know we need a big play wide receiver. We need another tight end, and we need a tackle and a guard. That's at a bare minimum on offense, and we're talking free agency and blah, blah, blah. If we have to go get a big money quarterback that everyone wants to have come in here and be super successful right off the jump, that's not going to let us do this other stuff. It's just not a feasible scenario. So I'm going to just say this, and I'm going to go down it real quick. I think he's the guy. We got to make him the guy. Unless he embarrasses himself and Ron Rivera has to protect him from himself, that's why I don't think he would start a game, Ken. That's why I won't say in stone. But if he embarrasses himself in the third quarter of a game, we also talked about this. I don't see why he wouldn't come back in and start the next week. This is the Dwayne Haskins experiment. And I'm going to just say, with his huge arm that stretches the field, he makes impossible throws look easy. We're really focusing on the easy throws looking bad right now, but there's a bit of both if you care to take a peek at it. The year 2 leap was gigantic, wasn't it, boys? The year 2 leap was gigantic. He went from immature, he dropped about 30 pounds. His offseason work program was ridiculous. During a pandemic, he got named a captain. I think that's a good sign moving into the year 3, the magic year that we're all looking forward to see what the heck's going to happen. He's a criticism deflector. You know, he's taken all the media on, straight on. He has not backed away. He has said, yes, I played bad. Yes, I need to play better. He's not just taking this and it's not smoke and mirrors. He's being stone cold honest. This year of experience, I believe, is the most beneficial thing that we could ever have as a franchise. So be patient, because the year to 1-2 jump was humongous. You got to think if he does that same exact amount of leaps and bounds into year 3, It's going to be a big deal, especially with an off season, with the first staff. This year's what we're going to have. There's going to be no pandemic stuff in the off season. He's going to have some guys to work with, young wide receivers. Hey, listen, year 2 as captain. And my fifth and final example, when the cavalry comes in, we understand Antonio Gibson and Terry McLaurin are the real deal. Another big play wide receiver and a tight end with some O-linemen. To really see what this guy can accomplish on a rookie contract in year 3, 4, and 5 can super benefit everything. Every Redskin fan should want him to succeed, not want him to fail, because that would be the master plan. That would be a big, big part of the master plan, is if Dwayne Haskins is the guy. Let's embrace the next 12 to 13 weeks, understanding that. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And like I said, he has to get better. I believe that he is the guy eventually. Certainly not right now. Certainly not right now. We need him to
I
go
think
through
that's
this.
a huge point.
See?
That's a huge point about who he's playing with. I mean, if Tom Brady, for some, weird reason, ended up here with this same personnel, people would think he needed to retire. Even Tom Brady couldn't be, great in this kind of on this team right now. So you got to take that into account on top of the fact that he's in his learning stage. At least I know I'm taking that into account. I think the people who are calling for him to be benched don't. I just don't think
They're
they
looking
are.
for something more than Dwayne Haskins can offer us. I think, and I think that, if, and we'll get T unfrozen there. I think, there he's unfrozen now. Okay, sorry T. I think what people are asking for is the impossible for a rookie quarterback. Still, truly in a rookie season, the kind of the 100,000 foot level of Dwayne Haskins to me continues to be those. Like Kevin summed it up best. We can't fix all of our talent deficit problems with money. And if quarterback is something we have to fix with money, we can't fix any other problem at all. And that doesn't mean we're stuck with Dwayne Haskins either, because there's affordable options at quarterback out of the draft. And if you end up in the top 2 or 3 picks in the draft because of what happens this year, you're not going to hear me, probably not going to hear us, tell the Washington front office you can't consider a quarterback, because you will have at that point in time a pretty complete picture of what you think you have in Dwayne Haskins. And by the way, you will still have in Dwayne Haskins for another 3 seasons, at least 2. And so to me, without kind of dissecting Dwayne more than we're already doing, I love the conversation about how we build this team out of year 1 of Rivera, and it does involve salary cap space, and it does involve draft resources. To me, it's an offensive lineman in free agency and an offensive lineman in the draft, both of which have to be guys who are capable of starting for you pretty much right away.
Right now.
And that's,
we need you.
And that maybe doesn't even consider what we do with Brandon Sheriff. And I'm noticing on the board some people are saying, he might just jump because that's what players here have done. And that might be true. And we might lose him because of that. Now, I don't want to lose an all-pro caliber guard. And I know that he's had injury issues. I also know he's one of the best guards in the game. And I would pay him what it takes to keep him. And I'd still go after an offensive lineman in the draft and another guy in free agency to turn over that offensive line. I think that a tight end and a safety, those are another 2 positions that I'm interested in seeing. And so I guess taking that and legging into this, what I saw on Sunday that kind of keeps me interested in this rebuild that isn't Dwayne Haskins related. Because maybe if I could just ring in just one time on Dwayne Haskins, because I think he is mentally tough enough for what we need him to do this season. You watch NFL Sunday. This is the beauty of NFL Sunday. You get to see it all. If you have the red zone, you get to see a lot of different players. If you get to watch all the highlights, everything's social medialized. We know who Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes are. They don't fail the eye test. We know who DeAndre Hopkins and Kyler Murray and even the rookie running backs that are coming into the league, the Jonathan Taylors, the Allaire, and the stud defenders who I don't even drool over anymore because we have our own stud defenders. You know who is the creme de la creme, and right now our offense is not the creme de la creme, and you can see it. But I think Dwayne Haskins is mentally tough enough to withstand one season of figuring things out with us, and I am not sold on the idea that he's not going to be our guy at all. I think he could very well be our guy, and I think that what I saw from him that I really appreciated was a willingness to and I think it's a double-edged sword because I think it's my good and my bad of Dwayne Haskins. He held the ball a little bit too long for my tastes, especially given the fact that we know our offensive line has problems. But he was willing to hold the ball, knowing that he was going to get hit, knowing that our offensive line has problems. I think that, to me, you can look at that both ways. He's got to get rid of it faster. In this league, that has to happen. But what he did at Ohio State that we knew he could do when he came into the league was stay in the pocket. We knew he could elevate in the pocket, take a couple steps up. We knew that he was comfortable in the pocket. He's got a big body. He can take hits. He's athletic. He's going to get up after those hits. Those things he's proven out. He's telling us he can do all of those things. And that's a big deal because we've had guys made of glass, guys who couldn't take that hit, guys who got fidgety in the pocket, guys who failed to read the third and fourth progressions, as Haskins has shown us he's been able to do in the last 3 or 4 weeks. That said, there's got to be a second, a second part of his calculation. He's got to basically get to a point where he's got to say, yeah, I know I can take the hit. I know I have 3 or 4 seconds to get rid of the ball, but I'm now dealing with an offensive line where maybe I only have 2.5 seconds. A couple times he probably should have got rid of it. My ugly T is his sacks are like the worst sacks in the league. Like, he doesn't get sacked for a 4-yard loss. He gets sacks for a 15-yard loss, and they're devastating. And I don't know. I mean, you guys would have a better idea on how to fix that. But to me, like, those make me crazy.
Throw
Can I say it with 2 seconds? All right, throw it away.
Throw it away.
I know but nothing has ever sounded easier and been harder to do. I think you also agree with that, both you guys. I will just say this. Watching the Patriots play, Bill Belichick, Josh McDaniel, the Patriot way, blah, 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 and watching Brian Hoyer take that sack and get up and give the timeout where there's no timeouts left and get no points, not even 3 before halftime, was the most un-Patriot thing I've ever seen. And it took me back to pregame when Romo said, speaking with him yesterday, he said, he's known as a Patriot. He's had 3 stints, but he's never started a game for the Patriots. So experience is the key. And Hoyer hasn't done it enough, and Hoyer found himself in a spot without the experience, even though he's been in the league and the system, but he hasn't had that playing experience with that level of speed all around him. I mean, that defense he was going up against was full tilt fast. So was the Ravens. That's why Scott Turner was brilliant in his game plan with a lot of quicks and all the screens and all that. Hey, we're managing a rookie quarterback essentially, and I love that. So if Brian Hoyer can go out there as a veteran for the Patriots with that coaching and make the biggest bonehead error based on lack of experience, I think we all need to take a deep breath and understand we're going to have some bumps and bruises this next year. But that's the best teaching key possible. And
we need talking about lessons learned, and I don't know if anyone the board has moved a little bit faster than I've been able to keep up with. But with under 20 seconds to go on first down at the end of the half, spike, third down, throw it to the end zone, or timeout to get the field goal. The end of half sequence was tough to watch. When Haskins tried to get back to the line of scrimmage and take that snap, which would have absolutely killed our chances of scoring at the end of the half. Again, a lesson learned, but just so we say it, we're not trying to, put lipstick on a hog. 16 seconds to go. You get to the line of scrimmage, you spike it, you have enough time left to make a throw to the end zone, because because the most gut punching moment as a Washington fan, and I know I'm not alone here, is on 4th and goal, and you throw it to the 8-yard line, and you ask a guy to get to the, get to the end zone against a defense that's guarding against it. I mean, you just can't do that. I mean, you just can't. Period. End of story. That's. I mean,
That's why he's
this
enrolled.
is how I was speechless.
That's why he's enrolled in first 16 game start school.
Yes, first 16 games.
And he played 1 year of college ball. We knew this when we got him. And he's a pocket guy. They take it a little bit longer. Guys like Drew Brees and Tom Brady didn't play at all their rookie year. Sat back, watched. Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, then got their feet wet. So right now he's not even there at that level by any means or any chance, with a whole lot less around him. I'm not making that excuse for his poor play, not having guys around him, T and Ken. I'm saying if we wanted to accelerate the process, we would have done so.
That's right.
And so the expectation level is based on their own. Both you guys, hey, there's two schools of thought. Haskins never or Haskins not right now. And, you know, I'll entertain conversations on both. I just happen to think Haskins in the future. And going through this right now, this is, hey, listen, man, we love our kids and we love our friends. Who makes worse decisions and does dumber, boneheaded things than your kids and your friends, or your friends and your kids, or your friends' kids, or anyone's kids, really, but mostly our friends. We all still love each other. We've all grown, and now we're all in a nice place. Let's hope for that with Dwayne Haskins.
By the way, T, I know how Kevin feels about this. I want to ask. I want to get positive here for a second or two. Isaiah Wright has a spot on my team. Period. I love him. I love. He's a football player. I'm trying to say like the things that matter. He's a football player. He passes the smell and eye test. You know, he looks like.
You sniffed Isaiah Wright?
I mean, it was like.
You're disgusting.
Smell-o-vision.
Gross.
Sorry,
That's
T.
gross.
That was Kevin, not me. Isaiah Wright is a guy, and I've watched, as we all, and everyone here hanging out with us tonight. Our wide receivers have been atrocious for 20 years. We've had a couple guys. Don't get me wrong. We've had a couple guys who can play, but we've cycled in some stinkers. To your point, Kevin, on the smell test. Isaiah Wright's not one of them. Isaiah Wright has a spot on my team.
I don't know if you're asking T, but I've been dying to talk about Isaiah Wright, so I'd like T to go first.
Wright.
Go ahead, Kev.
I'm just saying, I told you guys when we got this guy as an undrafted, I knew little about him. I'm not going to pretend that I knew his college career at Temple. I know this. When you wear a single-digit number at Temple, you're a badass physically. I'm not talking about how good you are, first team this, but 6'2", 220, running a 4.4, running he was a wildcat quarterback. He played the slot. He played out wide. He ran the ball. He carried the ball. He even threw it a couple times. Perfect for our offense. A lot of people wondered out loud why he didn't get drafted, and I watched his college highlight tape, and I watch a lot of college football. I'm not a scout. I'm shocked and stunned that a man of his size and speed in this present era league with 1 million receivers didn't get drafted by anyone. And I thought, man, the guy returns kicks, punts. He does everything, and I can't wait to see what he's got. And he showed right away. He's a beast. He's a football player. So if you have the ability to get a big-time receiver, another tight end, a couple of linemen that we're talking about, thinking about your compliments, Steven Sims, Golden Gandy, Harmon, Wright, Love, McKissick. I mean, those are your compliments. If to McLaurin, a stud, another good tight end, and Antonio Gibson, now we're getting down to business. As long as the big boys up front are dealt with first, that's what we're talking about here. I hate to trust the process because we're not Philadelphia 76ers, but let's let the game plan unfold a little bit. Isaiah Wright's a beast, man.
T, you got anything to say about Isaiah? From the book of Isaiah?
Nah, somebody's got to step up. Yeah, somebody has to step up. This past week, Gibson stepped up. He showed that he's a player to reckon with. Inman, again, came up with a couple big plays. You know, I think that he is playing better each week. I know that Kevin's not big on Kevin's radar, but
I like
he's
Inman,
produced.
man. He's just a guy that we've
producing.
had for 20 years. I want
Yeah, I get it.
a new guy.
He's producing, but my point is, you need now the next guy. Gibson did it this past week. Who's going to be the next guy that steps up? Could be right. I think he's an intriguing player. He's got, as you guys said, got a lot of tools. I think Turner can really use him in this offense the right way.
As a role,
Again,
yes, with a role.
a lot of these things, we're all no preseason games. This stuff is still coming together for them and everybody. But even for the Washington football team, it's even harder because these guys aren't all, not even some of them are longtime veterans, right? So it's going to take longer. But no, somebody's got to step up. I was really impressed with Wright. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, and going to the sidelines for a second, can't also fail to talk about the toughness of our head coach, Ron Rivera, who had to take breaks. Now, I mean, my heart was like palpitating. I'm like, for goodness sake, our guy is on timeouts and commercials, going back and sitting on the bench, which is just shocking because it's something you never see. I've seen, we've seen coaches coach into their 70s, even at the college level into their 80s, and you still don't see guys sitting on benches. If a guy who played linebacker for the 85 Bears is taking a break on the bench while the defense is on the field and Jack Del Rio is calling in plays, this guy is toughing it out in a way that cannot be understated. It just can't be understated. He's battling cancer. He's going through chemo. He's showing up on Sundays. He's giving it everything he's got, and that has to matter at some point as a story with regard to this rebuild. Where we start, like our cornerstone, where we build this entire house from, as we build the foundation and we start to build this room and that room and get a roof on this thing, that's where it starts. Ron Rivera, what else do you need?
We are watching him fight cancer live on camera.
It's unbelievable.
Every Sunday. That's what we're watching. It'll make me cry if I keep talking about it. Watching them, what a class act thing to do from the Washington Football Organization to put up the pictures of his family and friends and his inner circle and at the stadium. But what we're watching him do is effectively fight a disease that's affected everyone and everyone's family in the universe at some level. And I've never watched someone actually fight cancer after dealing with bouts and bouts of chemo on a weekly basis directly on my TV every Sunday. I am just super passionate, just like you are, just like T is, about this person being the man that can right the ship. And the ship was sunk.
Yeah, he's resurrected. We talked about a guy who's got to be given the ability to steer the ship through some rocky waters. What football player worth his salt and football coach worth his salt won't follow that guy?
No, captain, my captain.
I mean, for God's sake, that's not even why I would fail to question the timeout stuff or how he manages games, which I haven't questioned at all. The idea that we're going to second guess this guy who is watching with his own eyes and grading with his own eyes on a real-time basis. It was funny when he called that timeout at the end of the first half, and everyone was like, "Whoa, hey, check it out!" And I almost wanted to see him just like flick off the camera, just throw it right at the camera and be like, "Screw you guys! I'm calling a timeout."
I mean, happy 90th Clint Eastwood, but I feel like Rivera would be like, "Hey, you, why don't you come over here real quick?" Yeah. No, thank you, sir. I'm much tougher on Twitter.
Yes. So, I'm James and Greg and AGH and EO and all you guys, echoing our thoughts on the effort that Rivera's putting into this season. I hope I wish him the best. It's tough enough dealing with a 1-3 team in this market. In this league, in this day and age, to not have to deal with that other stuff. But again, you talk about a man up to the task. We knew when we hired him he should have taken this job based on who he is. He's better. He was too good for us to hope for. Too good to be our coach and our franchise leader. But he agreed to come here and take it over, and we were super fortunate for that to be the case. And he is the only guy that was available that is up to the task of doing what he was tasked with doing. In week 5 of a 1-3 Washington season, he's the only guy still up to the task of doing what we need to get ourselves into contention in a short window, 2 or 3 year period of time. And that's with him fighting cancer, sitting on the bench on timeouts and commercials. So, God bless him. And like I said, again, you look for in this sphere of physicality, sports. You have to have an example to follow. You have to have somebody who everyone looks to and says, that's the guy who is the leader. And that's Ron Rivera. Rivera is the leader.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree 100%. I only have 5% on my phone, so if I cut out, that's good night, everybody.
Get it all in, T.
Before my phone,
get your 5% worth, baby.
Before my phone cuts out, I just want to say, I worked as a counsel on the Senate Judiciary Committee for Senator Arlen Specter, who went through 2 bouts of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma while I worked for him. And I'll tell you right now, from experience, as a staff, as a team, we, without a doubt, worked harder during this time because he never missed a day of work, and we respected that. We fully expect Ron Rivera to pull through and get healthy, and what he's doing is going to have a huge, long-lasting effect on this organization and these players, even for the ones that leave, for Christ's sake, but the ones that stay and the ones that ride this out. This is going to be, I think, something that I don't want to use it, in a cliche, but this is something that I think is really going to benefit the character of this organization and of these players and of this team.
He's already been the ballsiest ass front office acquisition in the history of the Snyder era, and we're 4 weeks in. I mean, there's been a lot of good men. Don't get me wrong. I'm not just trying to, beat a dead horse, but, I sit there and I want to give a shout out real quick based on this topic. Not on the board tonight, but listening every week. My mother-in-law, awesome lady. You'd be shocked. We get along and we agree on a ton. Not so much Dwayne Haskins, but absolutely Ron Rivera. And it's really cool to get her perspective, a lifelong Washington football fan, stuck with it through the best and the worst of times, like most of us have over the age of 40. And she's tickled by the fact that there's a man like that at the helm. It's making people like her and friends of hers want to embrace the team the way that we've always embraced the team. And, disassociate Dan Snyder, of course, I get that part. But just get back into it, start over again, and start afresh, because this is our team. This isn't Dan Snyder's team. This is our team, our family's teams. And if there's one man that you could possibly pick, there's not a better guy for the job. And you know what? He took this job knowing all that, fellas. That's what I love. He didn't sign for the money. He could have gotten paid anywhere.
Yep.
Anyone would have paid him. He saw a reclamation project. He wanted to put a little elbow grease, join up with his wife, his crew, thought could get the job done. I think they can. And
I think they can too.
And we're at the very beginning of it. I'm not going to get into the stages again. But
Semper Fi, Robert. Semper Fi, brother.
Yeah.
Appreciate you as well.
Yeah.
T, I don't want to lose you without giving you a chance to maybe hit on a separate high of the week that you had outside of what we've already talked about.
Well, just a quick good, bad, ugly on the defense. There was parts of that I loved on the defense. The way that they were playing Lamar in the beginning of the game. I love the scheme that they had. Looks like they had it down pat. Look, playing against a team like Baltimore and Lamar Jackson and Hollywood Brown, I mean, they're going to get their big-time plays. That's going to happen. But the good was Montez Sweat in particular. I think he has turned the corner. I think he's legit. When we get Chase back, it's only going to make him that much better. Great to see Fuller getting 2 picks this past week. Great to have him back. So that was some great stuff. Third down, they've got to get better. They got to get better on third down. It's killing them. But with an offense that is not helping them out, putting them in bad situations with turnovers that are turning into points because their back is to the goalpost. That's tough. But the ugly, 30 points a game, they got to bring that down. Man, this is a good defense, but if you want to be respected, you got to bring it down. I know the offense isn't helping, but they're good, but they're far from great.
So the thing about Kendall Fuller, because you mentioned his name, there's a couple of names you mentioned that I wanted to touch on. Let's start with Kendall for a second. Came back. Something this guy here has instilled upon me that I kind of feel like I always knew because I got a kind of a thick trunk here. You can't see it; it's not featured on our show, but I got some.
We got to get a new camera.
We got to get a new camera in sports. If you could do one, if you drop that.
You got
to drop that ass.
Name the sport.
Drop that ass. Any sport. You want to change direction. You want to accelerate. You want to make a quick turn. You want to get physical. Drop that ass. What Kendall Fuller has done since he's gotten into the league, and we saw when he was a nickel corner for us when we drafted him, he does what the coach asks. He gets to the spot where he's supposed to be, and then watch him. He drops that ass. He's done it multiple times. I've seen him get interceptions doing nothing but that. Doing nothing but turn his body and drop that ass. What he does is he gets in the spot he's supposed to be. He turns around and he anchors himself as an athlete to the spot he's supposed to be. And he maintains control of his body past the point that most of us could do. We watched that interception. The ball was tipped by the receiver. Ball was tipped by Kendall Fuller. What happened? He came down with the ball at the end. Why? Because he was in control of his body, and he knew exactly what he was going to do, and he knew where that center of gravity was at all times. Kendall Fuller, as an athlete, amazes me when I watch him. Does he have a future as a cornerback long term? Is he the guy that we're going to try at safety at some point? I don't know. I don't care. He's a starter on our defense. He belongs in the top 11 players on our defense. And what he does, as good as anybody, when you're watching, if you're an athlete at home, if you're a kid, if you have kids that play the sport,
drop that ass.
Drop that ass.
But it's easier to drop it when you got those hips, and everyone knows it.
Yeah.
The good Lord
I feel
bless
like we
them
have a strong,
with those hips.
I think there's a strong island new release single coming out called "Drop That Ass."
Drop that ass.
Well, listen, Cameron's about to take it to the floor, get low. But I thought he was about to drop down and get his eagle on there real quick because that was our era.
Yeah.
The whole club was looking at her. I know it. Every time it comes on, you dance your ass off.
Of course you do. Of course you do.
No, you do specifically.
Of course we all do.
Yeah. Right.
So Kendall Fuller impressed me because that's what he does well. But and again, it's a simple concept. I mean, if you've never heard it before, I'm sorry if it's being mixed up with the club scene that Kevin and T love so much.
Shake it like a salt shaker.
Gotta shake it like a salt shaker. Get your body in the right spot and get yourself to be in a spot where you can make an athletic play. He did that for us his first stint. He did that in the Super Bowl for the Kansas City Chiefs, and he's been doing it for the Washington Redskins since he got healthy.
With a game-ending pickle. And then he just pickled RG3 on his next throw in D.C. Like, I don't take pleasure in stuff like that. All that much.
But sometimes. Montez Sweat. Let's talk about Montez Sweat. It's crazy how scheme-specific Washington football fans have gotten over the last 10 years about how, as we've gone from this scheme to that scheme and this personnel to that personnel and utilizing this guy for this set but pulling him out. But Montez Sweat is exactly where he needs to be in Jack Del Rio's defense, and it is showing. He's blowing up. He's going to be a tough guy to keep past his rookie contract because of how good he's playing. And I hate to think of things in those terms because we still got him for a couple years.
We got that option too, man.
And we got the option on him.
Up.
He's a player. He is a difference maker, and in many cases, he's a guy who's the difference in a lot of plays in the game. And he makes an impact on the game itself. But when you watch plays, man, he's winning his one-on-ones. He's playing his position well. So if he's being asked to push up, if he's being asked to back off, if he's being asked to stay wide, if he's being asked to set the edge, He's doing all those things so well, and it shows up, and you can't not see it.
It's been ridiculous. I'm telling you this. We have those two bookends for the next 3.5 years. Both 6'6", both 260, both freakishly athletic. Two of the fastest DNs in the history of the combine in our franchise as young bucks, 20 and 22 years old, I believe, 21 and 22. I call him the librarian because everyone's so loud about Chase Young, the #1 pick, and he's just in there telling everyone to shh as he produces week in and week out.
He's so much fun to watch. T, I'm being sensitive to your phone juice. I want to ask you a question. I'm going to put you on the spot just a little bit. We're going to take quarterback. Quarterback is off the table, okay? We're going to assume that we're not drafting a quarterback in the first round. You look at the field through 4 weeks, first quarter of this season, and from a talent standpoint, your first-round draft pick, assuming it's, where it always is, top 10, top 15 picks, what position to you needs the biggest injection of talent?
Left tackle.
Left tackle. Man, I think we got that in under the gun. I'm gonna move over here for a second. If we get him back, I'll go there. But
it was a great final answer.
It was a great final answer. If you're gonna talk about anything being under the gun, I see a smile. I saw a smile happen, so I'm gonna bring it back. T, left tackle is absolutely the right answer. Because of the guys that we have, Jaron Christian and Sadiq Charles and those guys, if they can work out on them as starters in other spots and you bring in a stud left tackle.
Look what happened to our defensive line. First round pick, right. First pound Rick. Come on. It's a formula in this game of football. Build from the trenches, out.
No doubt about it. And my answer would be O-line. My answer would be guard tackle. Only because I do believe Sadiq Charles healthy has a chance, but that doesn't mean he can't play right tackle or guard. I do believe in that. I think that we need a badass, and I think we can get a badass guard at 10 to 15. We'll see what the tackle situation looks like. Don't care, don't matter. We need bad boys up front. I think we're all on the same page there. That's going to be getting us to the next level for this whole situation. And no one knows that more than Ron Rivera.
Well, I'll tell you what, guys. I like the fact that we've been able to keep it positive for the most part. Eric Anderson's O-line, AGH's cornerback, James Rainey's safety, Greg Martin's O-line. I'm going to assume Rob Cohen is a trenches guy as I look in here. I don't think that we're going to see, and this is where I will disagree with Robert. I don't see quit in this team. I think that we're going to see a spirited effort for the rest of the season, regardless of the record, because I think, again, that has to do with the man in charge. No one's given up on Ron Rivera ever.
Hell no.
On Sunday, and I don't think there's any question there. So we'll let the chips fall where they may, which is a cliche I generally hate to use, but in this case it makes sense because we have 12 more weeks. We're gonna get some wins. We're gonna pile up some losses, and I don't know how the NFC East is gonna shake out. I would have probably been willing to wager there'd be a little bit more differentiation in the NFC East at this point in time, but I think that Kev, the NFC East being up for grabs is going to be a fun story, but we'll see how that it's going to.
I don't know if it's a fun story. I mean, 3-12-1 as a division is worse than like 12 other individual teams' record right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's super gross. But guess what? We're part of this super gross, and why not get down and nasty? I mean,
as a team, we need to drop that ass and center ourselves, and it's not even about being a spoiler. It's not even about to me, beating the Giants is always its own reward. Beating the Cowboys, it's always its own reward. Beating the Eagles, it's always its own reward. And I don't care at all about the draft pick difference between losing one of those games or winning one of those games because I love beating those teams.
I'm with you, but this is old school. No one's dropping it down, but this is EU doing the butt. The NFC East is doing the butt right now. It's dirt nasty, and there's a damn chance we're going to be a part of a lot of it. And don't forget about this. If this dirty, nasty NFC East gets down to about a month left of 4 games, and all of a sudden there's a COVID scenario, who knows, buddy? Who knows? Because if anyone is going to get some good graces from the man upstairs during a pandemic, it might be Ron Rivera.
It's absolutely going to be.
The karma might be turning just a little bit. Not Dan Snyder's, but the Washington football team.
And also, you're talking about, they're not getting too far ahead of ourselves. You're talking about facing a former coach of ours in Sean McVay. You're talking about then playing Dallas once and the Giants twice, all in the next 4 weeks. There's a lot going on there that's going to talk about the rest of the season. And when we talk about what's happening in December, we're going to have a December Dwayne Haskins. We're not going to have a September Dwayne Haskins. So whatever is going to happen at the end of the season, we're going to have a much different quarterback at that point in time, even if it's the same quarterback, if you understand what I'm saying.
Very true, and it's going to be the same quarterback that you saw last week because 32 for 45 against a Ravens defense that's manly was done specifically. Yep. And we tried to run the ball as effectively as possible. We're not great at it yet, obviously. So we did rely on Dwayne a little bit to play point guard in the near side with the quicks and the screens. We're doing it again this week. We're doing it again this week. When you watch a TV screen, do not be surprised. Do not ask him to throw it down the field. That team has Aaron Donald on it.
Get it away from Aaron Donald.
We don't want Aaron Donald near Dwayne Haskins. We don't want Aaron Donald actually near a whole O-line. But
anywhere.
Whatever the case is,
release the ball.
Jalen Ramsey is going to be on McLaurin, so that's going to be tough. So we're going to need Antonio Gibson in spades. And I'm telling you this, they had a putrid win last week against the Giants. They looked disgusting. Week in, week out in the NFL is as such. Everyone was saying McVay was the one that got away not so long ago. Who would you rather have right now, Rivera or McVay? Think about that when we're watching this week, and let's see how this one unfolds.
We got a big week ahead of us, and I look forward to covering this Sean McVay battle next Tuesday night. I want to say thanks to Tim Strachan, whose phone ultimately did die out before he gave us some really good insight into what we need to do as an organization. This guy here is Kevin Ricka.
And I'm predicting Jared Goff goes down on the high side of 5.5 sacks this week.
Okay.
I don't think he's getting rid of the ball properly, and they got some issues up front, and they ain't running it great. Hey, Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods can play, but not if our D-line and front seven are playing a little bit harder. And shout out John Bostic. He is the number 7 in the NFL in tackles. He's been playing lights out. Love him for it.
He's been impressive to watch, and you're right. Jared Goff should have carved up the Giants' defense in a way he didn't last week, which I was shocked by.
I know.
So that's something to watch. Our defense is better than the Giants' defense, and I will be interested to see how that matchup goes. Until then, I want to say thank you to everybody who joined us on the board tonight. I am Ken Marangolo. This was Thank God It's Tuesday. We'll see you guys in 1 week from tonight. Maybe back in first place in the NFC East. Thanks, everybody. See you next week.